My name is June Edward. I'm a relationship expert, best-selling author, the creator of the Relationship Mastery Program, and a psychic medium. I died when I was 27, and I came back here by choice. Kind of a strange story to tell, I guess, but I was very psychic from being a small child. Everybody has psychic ability and mediumship ability. It's just a matter of developing it. And my youngest memory was the age of 3. I remember lying in bed and hearing someone call my name, and I got out of bed to check and thinking it was my parents, and they were fast asleep. So I went back to bed and started looking around my room and realizing that there were faces everywhere, and it was very frightening as a child. I pulled the covers up over my face, and as the sun started to come up, I started seeing the shadows of these faces in my face, and it was really scary. And my abilities continued to develop as I got a little bit older. When I went to school, I would kind of know everything that was going to happen before it happened. When you start telling your classmates that, you get labeled a freak because kids aren't always very nice to each other. So again, I stopped telling people what was going to happen. It was interesting. It was a very different way to have to grow up and live, but I did try to block it as much as I could. When I got older, same thing. I tried to block it, and if someone died, they would still come to me, and I would let my family members know that, hey, such and such a person died. And they'd be like, no way, we just talked to them. And I'm like, no, really, they died. And sure enough, they'd check and find out that they did die. I got married at the age of 21. And at the age of 22, I injured my back in an accident, and they wanted to do back surgery. I knew right away that I was going to die if they did back surgery on me, and I put it off as long as I could. It was a knowing, and when you have that knowing, it's literally a heads up from your soul. When you think, that's your brain. When you know, that's your gut instinct, that's your soul. So I put it off as long as I could for 5 years until I had no choice and I had to have it done. And before I went into the hospital, I let everybody know that I was going to die. And of course, they're just telling me, oh no, June, you're just afraid, you'll be fine, everything's going to be okay. The night before the surgery, I had an MRI done with a contrast dye that I had had previously and thought I was allergic to because I had a bad reaction to it. And when I let them know this, they just kind of shoved it off and told me it was normal. Everybody had that reaction. And what do I know? I'm 27 years old. I'm not the doctor. So sure enough, as soon as they injected me through an IV with the dye, I died. And I never considered it an NDE because near-death experiences are all lumped into one. So I'll explain how an NDE works, and then I'll go into what happened to me. So your soul is way too big for this body. Some of it's in your body, some of it is over your body that people can see, and they call it an aura. And the majority of your soul is actually in the lowest level of heaven, which I've come to know is to be the 5th dimension. And that orchestrates not just the timing of all the events that happen in your life, but it holds all the knowledge of all your lifetimes as well. So I used to tell people that the only 2 things you take with you when you go are love and knowledge. But now I do this work as a medium, and I see these people, these souls all the time, and talk with them, and I understand that we take all of our feelings with us, not just love. So for that reason, if something terrible was going to happen, like a car accident, my brother was in a severe car accident when he was 16, and he remembers his soul standing on the sidewalk watching this whole thing unfold with his body in the car until the paramedics came, and then he went back into his body. So basically your body jumps out before the impact so that your soul doesn't feel all that trauma. I also had a girlfriend who was hit by a deer in her car that came through the side window when she was driving. And she was a devout Catholic. And until she met me, she thought she had done something wrong and she wasn't going to be able to go to heaven, because she remembers her soul being stuck on the roof of the car. And she also saw the soul of the deer, when the deer was killed, go up to heaven. And again, as soon as the paramedics came and able to help her, her soul went back into her body again. So these are all considered near-death experiences. Less than 10% of the people that have an NDE make it to the level that I made it to, which was the lowest level of heaven. And everybody's experience is a little bit different, and they all happen for different reasons. And I guess the ones that get to stay, we don't hear about. However, When it happened to me and they administered the dye, I immediately was taken to the other side. I didn't see a tunnel or anything. I was just there very quickly. And it was amazing. The feeling was just incredible. It's weightless because you don't have this body. You don't feel pain. You don't feel any of that. And for me, it was an overwhelming sense of love. It was just incredible. There isn't even a word to tell you the feeling of love that I experienced there. And I could see everything that was happening below me. I could see them, the doctor coming over and hitting the crash thing on the wall and then the crash cart. I could hear the nurses at the nurses station talking. I could hear the patient in the room in back of me. But I was more focused on the front of me because I got to see a full life review. And again, that is something that's very rare. Very few people get a full life review. And it was like sitting in the front row of an IMAX theater and watching every important thing that ever happened in my life play out in front of me. All the people that loved me, the important times that brought me happiness. And then I heard a voice behind me tell me that it's not really my time. I can stay if I want to, or I could go back. It was my choice. And my understanding is next to no one gets that choice. They're either told it's not their time and they're ripped back, or that's it. And I'm watching this movie and I'm really thinking about why would I want to go back? I'm thinking about my family and I'm like, no. And I'm thinking about my husband and I'm like, no. And what was interesting in hindsight is I have two children at the time that were very young, and they were not in my life movie. They weren't showing me that. But as soon as I remembered I had two very young children here, I remembered that that was the biggest reason that I came here to begin with, and that they brought me the most joy in my life. And as soon as I made that decision to come back, I was back in my body instantaneously. And when you think of quantum physics and the speed of light is over 100 and I think it's 163 or 136,000 miles per second. And that's how fast my soul was traveling when it left my body. And that's how fast it traveled when it went back in my body. And when you think of energy, frequency, speed, vibration, these are all just different words for the same thing. So my vibration is very, very high. And you would think that when I came back, that would be the time that my abilities would have really opened up, but I wasn't ready still. And when I came back, it took me a long time to process it. Other than telling my husband and my best friend, I couldn't really talk about it. And every time I talked about it, the feelings would come back and I would just start bawling my eyes out. It was just such an emotional experience. So it took me a long time to really process everything. But I did start getting interested in the paranormal after that happened. And I started going on haunted vacations and I started seeing the energy and I started hearing the voices again. But I was still a little bit afraid, I guess, but getting more curious and less afraid as time went on. And it was about 10 years ago that my abilities actually fully opened up when I had gone to a Reiki practitioner to relax, and she recommended that I meditate. And the first time that I meditated, it was like they kicked the door into the other side. She's ready! And I just couldn't shut it off. And again, I was seeing full apparitions, 3D, that looked like you and me, hearing voices, and I thought I was going to go crazy. I was grateful to find someone that was able to teach me how to turn it on, how to turn it off, who I'm talking with, how to protect myself. And then my education took over from there. And I've been helping people now for well over 10 years. I love what I do. Very grateful that I'm able to connect to the other side as quickly as I can and bring those souls through and offer them peace on that side the same way as I offer people peace on this side. It's been an interesting journey. I don't know where it's going to go from here, but don't be afraid to die. Don't rush it. Taking your own life is never an acceptable out. You're here for a reason. You actually made this plan before you came here. You're needed, you're important, but don't be afraid when your time comes, because when your time comes, it would be amazing on the other side, and you'll still be able to see and hear all of your loved ones here, and without any pain, without any drama, without anything. It's just a continuation of life after life. That's all it is. So I'm hoping I helped everyone here. If you have any questions, you're welcome to reach me on my website, juneedward.com. I am on social media. There is a webinar you're welcome to sign up for on my website, and you can learn a little bit more about how energy works and about my relationship mastery program. And if you'd like to schedule an appointment with me, you can also do that on my website at juneedward.com. Thank you for listening.